Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Big Shrimpin' Aquascapes with Alex. And today we're going to talk a little bit about algae and a couple of different problems I've been experiencing with the 40-gallon breeder right here behind me. Okay, so the first thing I have been experiencing is algae. There are a couple of different ways that you could get an algae bloom. I wouldn't necessarily call this an algae bloom, but I'm having just a tiny little bit of hair algae and green flat algae on the back glass, which is really not a big problem. It's very easy to deal with. I could only imagine that it comes from overfeeding. I would say the reason why I overfeed is because I have filter feeding vampire shrimp. They're all hiding right now. Oh, there's one right there, actually. Right there behind the rock with the snail. So, I tend to crush up all the food and just toss it in powder form. That way it goes through the water column a little bit. But unfortunately, they're not going to be able to get all of it. There are 4 vampire shrimp in there. Also, I tend to crush up the food because I have small fish, and I haven't been able to find a fish food that's small enough for small fish to be able to actually eat it. So, like I said, again, not a big problem at all. I'm actually really good at combating algae. Normally, there is no algae in my tank, period. But when I noticed that, I said, well, this is a good time for me to talk about algae. So you get algae many different ways. Like I said, you can get it from overfeeding. You can get it from giving too much light. You can get it from not doing your water changes, being lazy. People, make sure you are doing your water changes. We're going to actually do one today. I've got my bucket and my siphon ready. I've got another bucket there as well. So make sure you're doing your water changes. I think that what happened with this tank is I overfed and the food fell to the bottom and kind of like turned to like ammonia and things like that, which too much ammonia will kill your fish. Too much ammonia will kill your plants. Also, I put these plants in during the time I was cycling the tank. I actually cycled the tank with most of the animals you see here. Fishing cycles are very easy. Just do your water changes, people. But when you're cycling the tank, there's going to be a ton of ammonia present. So you're probably going to want to do a water change every day. Now that I'm noticing algae, I'm probably going to do bigger water changes maybe more often. I was doing 30% water change maybe twice a week. And it's totally cool because this is 40 gallons we're talking about. Like if you have a 10-gallon tank, you're probably going to want to do that more. Maybe bigger water changes less often or smaller water changes more often. Either way, it'll kind of balance itself out. So we're going to talk a little bit about algae and just kind of some of the overall experiences I've been having with some of my plants and some changes that I think I'm going to make. And this thought process might actually be able to help you beginners as well. If you're going to have a planted tank or if you're not going to have a planted tank, it really doesn't matter. It's very similar, these two, honestly. So, okay, now let's have a look at the 40-gallon breeder here. So as you can see, I have hair algae growing from that tree. Some of my plants have come up. I actually have hair algae in the foliage of that tree in the back. I have green spot algae on the back glass. Very, very easy to get rid of. Also, on top of this rock here, there is green algae growing as well. Which, like I said, honestly, not a problem. Don't give it too much light. Algae is a plant. It loves light. It's going to grow just like the rest of your plants. Remember, if you have algae and you're fertilizing, you're also fertilizing your algae. really not a big problem. Buy some algae eaters, cut down the light. If you see it, your only option is really going to be to go in and manually remove it. So we're going to do a little bit of that today, just to give everybody watching, some tips that they might be able to use to get rid of the algae. And some algae is okay. Really, most algae in your aquarium is not harmful to the fish. My tank is more of a shrimp tank. It has fish in it, but there are a ton of shrimp here. Shrimp love to eat algae. Also, different types of plecos love to eat algae. It's very good for them. Also, like I said earlier, it's a plant, so it kind of helps to oxygenate the water and convert harmful chemicals into less harmful chemicals. Do your water changes, people. Okay. So you can get algae from having your aquarium in direct sunlight. Don't put your aquariums by windows, because this LED light is good, but the sunlight, that's just like the plants, what they're used to. Plants are grown with sunlight. It's probably the best way to grow a plant, I would say, with the sun. So don't put it in direct contact with the sun. If you're setting up a new aquarium and you have nutrient rich substrate, don't start fertilizing the first day. If you start fertilizing the first day, you're going to have a ton of nutrients in the water column. Also, there's going to be a ton of ammonia in the water column. And then once you give it that light, you've pretty much given algae everything it really needs, because algae is a very adaptive plant. It can survive in almost every range of water conditions you can think of. I'm talking about salt water, fresh water, high pH, low pH, high KH. It doesn't matter what you say, the algae will grow. Algae grows under the Arctic. It's just what it does. It's built to last, So yeah, keep some of those things in mind, right? So let's see here. I want to show some of this green hair algae. It's pretty cool. Also, guys, if you're having hair algae, Amano shrimp love to eat hair algae. The reason I have Amano shrimp and hair algae is because I feed the tank, and they don't really just get around to it. It's they're eating pretty good. It's like, why bother? That's actually more like work for them, so, which is totally fine by me. Like I say, I've got a ton of different animals in here. There's one coolie loach. I've got 3 mystery snails, 2 super red pleco, 4 vampire shrimp, and just a ton of different other types of shrimp. Blue jellies, fire red, black rose, blue dream. And most of these animals that I named, actually all of these animals that I named, they love to eat algae. They're pretty much like a cleanup crew. They'll eat the algae, they'll eat the leftover rotting food. These guys are going to really do well. They're going to survive as long as you keep your water parameters right. Okay, so like I said, when you see algae, all you can really do is get in the tank and get it out. So we are going to do that. I have this fork. You can use a fork or a toothbrush. Either one is just fine. I don't have any toothbrushes that haven't been used, so I'm going to have to use a fork from the kitchen. Please, nobody tell my wife, okay? I don't think that she would agree with this method. Let me find a towel to throw down on the floor. Don't want to get the floor wet, even though my wife is really cool. She doesn't really mind. She understands having aquariums. It gets wet from time to time. Okay. All right, so now we have this towel down here. It's one of the older towels. I have my cup of orange juice. Take a sip of that. OJ, it's probably one of my favorite things to drink. All right, so got the fork that we're not going to be telling my wife about, okay? Look, there's one of the blue jelly shrimp I was telling you about right there. I love those guys. They're awesome. So the fork is really going to be for the hair algae. So I'm going to see if I can't capture the hair algae while also, with my other hand, going in the tank to remove it. So you get it, and you want to kind of spaghetti it. You want to spaghetti it. And hair algae is going to be something that you'll have to be careful with, because what happens with hair algae is that it just breaks off, and wherever it falls is where it'll grow from. There are going to be areas in your tank where removing hair algae is more difficult to do. Like, let's say the hair algae went all the way down in the Maintaince. Removing that would be just a tad more difficult than removing it up from the trees. Looks like I'm scaring one of my vampire shrimp. Sorry, Ignacio. That's what I call him. I call him Ignacio. I haven't come up with any other names for the others yet. So it's a little hard to see here, but I removed just a little bit of it. And I'm going to get that off of there somehow. Don't know yet, but whatever. It's totally cool. So, oh no, it comes back to life once it gets wet. I need to take that away. All the way away. If you have fish in your aquarium, be careful when going in, because fish like to kind of see what's what and what's going on. I have leopard longfin danio, and they're actually pretty, how do I say, they want to be bothered with you more than other fish. So here we are trying to spaghetti more of this hair algae away without hurting any of the animals. That was just a quick tutorial basically on, how to remove the hair algae. I'm going to stop the video and actually remove the hair algae. And then I'm going to show you how things are looking without the hair algae. Let's move on to flat green algae on the glass. It's a pretty common thing. Also, not a big issue. You can go to your local fish store. Shout out 360 Aquatics. That's my local fish store. I've got everything inside of the tank, including the light, from 360 Aquatics, best fish store I've ever been in. If you live in the Houston area and you're a fish keeper or interested in keeping fish or live plants, please stop by 360 Aquatics. You will not be sorry you did it. You'll be completely satisfied. My vampire shrimp, my fish, my smaller shrimp, the snails, the trees, the substrate, you name it. It's all from 360 Aquatics. Thank you guys so much. All right. So, green flat algae. If you don't have a mag float, go buy one. If you don't want to go buy one, use a credit card. I don't want to go buy one. Not right now. So I'm going to be using a credit card, guys. It's very simple. What you do is you take the credit card and just scrape the glass. But be careful that you don't scratch your glass. That's the difficult part. This is a soft, card. Perfectly fine. Just make sure it wasn't laying around in a pool of toxic waste or something like that. And you can't see the green hair algae, but you will see me scraping at it. So, hopefully this video is helpful. Oh, I need to move my light out of the way. Do not want to drop this light. It's a very good light. Shout out Finex. This is a Finex Razor Thin Stingray Finex 2. Stingray 2 Razor Thin. Very, very, very good light for your plants. So I'm going in and I'm scraping. I'm not sure if you can see the algae just kind of coming off of the glass, but this is a lot easier than getting hair algae away. I can tell you that much. I need to put the light back. I can't even see the algae. I was just blind scraping. So here we go. Gotta be careful not to knock your light in the water. Don't want to do that. I'm just working my way across the glass, scraping it away. Sometimes you gotta kind of pass over the same area once or twice because this stuff is really, really flat. And it's just not easy to get at. I mean, but it comes off very easily though. Like I said, a lot easier than the hair algae. So remember, with fish keeping, it's best to take preventative actions than to try and react to it once it's happened, because fish keeping kind of takes patience. So when you have to get rid of something, it's not going to be gone in the first day, so keep that in mind. Like I said, everyone, do your water changes. I'm going to scrape this away. I'm going to show you guys what the tank is looking like, and then we'll do a water change. I'll give you a couple tips on how to use the siphon. All right, so thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for subscribing. And that's really it, And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Tap the bell. You'll get notifications whenever I make a new video. And please subscribe. Thank you very much, everyone. And I will see you all soon.